Hello and welcome to the Monday, January 7th edition of the Cluster API Provider AWS Office Hours. We have a relatively light agenda today, so if you have any topics that aren't already there, please go ahead and add them. Also, please add yourself to the attending list as well. To start off with, the first agenda item is for Tim, automated tests for the MVP.
So we started talking about this in a separate conversation, but I think it's community driven. I think it should be community driven. There are a set of tests that we would like to have available. The question is, what would we like to get done before the MVP? There's a couple of different issues. I think they're all assigned to Liz currently. And just sort of enumerating what we would like to do for this, for the V1 Alpha 1 release, so we can get those things in place.
That's great. Do you have a list of the tests that you mentioned?
So let's look at the issues here. Basically, just look at anything assigned to Liz. And we did the triage. So I think the problem here, let me share my screen. This one. The problem here is that they're too obtuse, right? Let me get this one out of the way. Kabang. So there's the periodic end-to-end test jobs, right? Those should be run, every couple of hours that actually do a full sort of conformance suite verification. That seems unambiguous, right? Where a full end-to-end tests. So let's just say like this should be the conformance suite on a full cluster deployment. All right, so let's go back. That one should be clear. The one that's not so clear is PR blocking tests. Right. And we wrote down some notes here, but the question is, what type of verification do we want to do on a per PR basis? And what's the cut line that we want to set folks to trek against to get that done? So the one thing we had the internal conversation on was to get very basic verification up, like a single smoke test, a single end-to-end test that basically is the equivalent of Sonobuoy Quick, which basically verifies that you have all the basic working pieces of a cluster. But I don't know how many people want to help on this effort. If there are folks that want to help on it, then we can possibly do more. I'll pause there and see what other people say.
I mean, to add more, we probably want a simple smoke test to start. And I'm guessing that we would want PR blocking jobs, like regardless. So we should probably start there.
That's what this has at the end of it. It's basically this last line here, which is, it's a little obtuse, but this should ultimately just be the equivalent of Sonobuoy Quick.
Yeah. So to me, it sounds like we want the minimum for V1 Alpha 1. If we get more, that's nice. If we don't, we will iterate on the next version.
The question is whether or not you'll have breaking things on a per PR basis, which you probably will. Like, it really needs people to look at it and dive deep on it, and that are going to devote themselves to making sure that when a PR gets put up, that if we get to the point where we're on V1 Alpha 1, we feel comfortable actually releasing, because we've gone through enough test coverage to make us feel happy that the automation is working.
Mhm.
Not all of the those changes need to be PR blocking for us to have confidence in a release, though. We could have periodic jobs.
That is true. It's just going to be a question of whether or not people are watching the periodic jobs to, make sure that things are clean before the release, which we'll probably do anyways. But
Yeah.
things could be broken unless everyone has the signal.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I'm fine with whatever folks want to do. I think quick will get you there, but I think it's definitely not complete, and you could totally have broken PRs that get merged.
Yeah, I think the thing that we need right now is more information on how long these tests are going to take. Like, I think a full Sonoboy conformance run is going to take too long, pretty much regardless of how we slice it for a PR.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long it's going to take to stand up how long does it take to stand up a standard AWS cluster? What kind of flake rates are we getting on that? And I think we just need more data there.
Okay. Well, I think this is enough to get us rolling, and we can always come back to it later on. Publishing of artifacts, obviously, we're going to have to get to that, but I think that's a later date. I think these two are the highest priority ones right now. Blocking PR jobs and periodic full conformance suite tests, I think, are of the highest. In the P0 range, they're the highest of the P0s.
Do you want to update the priority of the others to be long or important soon?
I can, yeah. But they will instantly be P0'd once we're done with the other ones. Maybe you can double layer so that way it's clear. You can actually add multiple priorities. I'll do that.
Yeah, I think the publishing of artifacts is going to become super high important really soon, because we're going to want a stable repository that we pull the images from. And if that's be owned by the CNCF, then we're going to have some type of automated process around that.
We've made some incremental progress towards Prow being able to handle tag pushes. But if we want to use that mechanism, we're going to need somebody to champion it. I think that would be the ideal, because for a brand new product, I don't think we want to be standing up more. This has to run on some specific person's laptop, but that is not something we're going to get for free with Prow right now.
We don't have to always use Prow either, because we're on a separate repository. Prow is meant for KK. It's like a absolute requirement for KK. But if we wanted to do other release apparatus as part of auto tagging, we can still do that as long as we have the jobs set to trigger on it.
Yeah, that is true. Having some of the build processes run on Prow and some of them run on Travis or Circle or something is certainly not ideal, but it's a possibility. And of course, we probably do want the tests to run on Prow so that we get the sort of commonality of the status reporting and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think the artifact publishing is the one that might be external, given the fact that it's not really consistent. I still need to talk with Dims on this one. So
yeah, I think my impression is that the testing commons people would be very open to getting this sort of stuff into Prow. But it's not their priority right now, and so that would need to be an area where we took some leadership, I think.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is that I think we really need to have the repository that we're publishing images into owned by Kubernetes or the CNCF rather than an individual company, because the images we're publishing right now are in a Heptio controlled account, and there's a little question about is it possible to transfer that somewhere or not? So the quicker we can get over to a CNCF owned account, I think the better.
Yep. That's probably third on the
Anything
list.
else on this topic? Yeah. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Ashish, you have an item about updating an update on the control plane node join. Looks like you're talking, but we can't hear you, Ashish.
Ashish, I think you're a robot. Is that just for me?
Yeah, no, that's me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot understand you at all, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I can't understand. It's
Try
weird.
joining and rejoining, maybe.
I think that is what he's currently doing. All right. While we wait for Ashish to join back,
Okay, I was able to rejoin. Is this better?
yes, we can hear
Yes.
you now.
Okay, cool. So I don't know what was going on. Anyway, so I've been making some progress, but not as much as I thought I should have finished. I'm currently at the stage where the kubeadm join for the control plane is the documentation for that is a little unfamiliar, or like not insufficient, I would say, especially around the control plane stuff. So trying to figure that out to make progress. I have a list of things that are currently not working in the PR. Like as a comment. So I'm kind of working my way down that list. I also started I just posted in the kubeadm channel as well as asking for help. So once I get that help that I needed or I should be able to make more progress. For folks who are interested or want to kind of give me a quick review or kind of see what I'm talking about, you can head over to the PR. I've linked the PR and also the issue in the agenda doc that we have. That's pretty much what I wanted to share with you all.
Okay, great. I know I'll take a look at that later on today, and if anybody else gets a chance, please take a look at it and help provide feedback.
I think Chuck already looked at it. Chuck and Vince both looked at it or have been looking at it. Just want more eyes on it. It's always good.
And it looks like you also have the next item on the agenda as well for proposal. Yep.
So while I was working my way on the kubeadm stuff, I realized that we don't use the kubeadm token to create tokens for joining nodes to the cluster. I wanted to see if what do folks think about switching over to KubeADM to generate tokens instead of the cluster bootstrap token that we use. I see the GCP provider uses the KubeADM token, create stuff. So maybe that's a good idea. I don't know what you guys think.
I think we're ready to do that.
Well, we use the shared common code from the cluster bootstrap token for generating the token directly in code rather than using KubeADM itself to do it. And the main reason why we took that approach is we wanted to avoid vendoring in KubeADM into the controller image itself. So right now, KubeADM is only required on the individual instances for bootstrap in the control plane, and then for subsequent node joins. And we didn't want to tie a particular version of KubeADM into the actual controller itself.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I had about the token stuff. I didn't have anything else.
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but it avoids locking us into a particular version of KubeADM on the controller side, which we may or may not be able to avoid as we start looking at adopting the KubeADM config, and then we could probably look at, depending on how that goes, see where we go from there.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, if you look at the KubeADM code in GitHub, they don't have JSON equivalents of their types. So I might have finally managed to go look at the Go docs for the type definitions and their JSON strings.
All right. Next topic, it looks like it's Chuck with getting to a stable alpha.
Yeah, so this, we talked about this internally. I wanted to bring this up to the community at large. There's been requests to have the KubeADM config exposed as its entirety for moving to stable alpha, and this has repercussions with what the API types look like. So on the link that I pasted in the document, there's just a couple of various approaches to actually exposing KubeADM config. And if people wanted to put their thoughts on that issue, it would be great to get some other opinions in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you have some time, take a look at that comment.
And one of the things that I'm hoping that we can eventually do, because kind of vendoring in a particular version of KubeADM is a little worrisome to me, in that it could potentially cause a tighter dependency than we really want to accept. So I hope that at some point in the future, we'll be able to expose those the config types for KubeADM in a way that you don't have to actually pull in all of KubeADM, and definitely not all of the KK repo to.
I think Depp should do a good job of pruning the things we don't need.
It should prune it, and because we're GA'd on the or beta 1 on the config, it should not delta across releases too much, and because they're tightly versioned, you should be okay. Now, if we find stuff when we're doing this, we should absolutely go forth and fix it in KubeADM.
Yep.
Anybody else have any topics for today? All right. If not, everybody have a great day. Thank you very much.